Now, I like the Battlefield games. I really do. And I really want to like Battlefield 2042. But right now, I don't think I can. And that's not because this is an inherently bad game. It's not even because of how broken it is, because it is kind of broken. But all Battlefield games have been broken on launch. That's almost tradition by now. No, what really makes 2042 so difficult to like is that it doesn't know anymore what kind of game it wants to be. 2042 is a mixture between a hero shooter, a battle royale, a Battlefield game, a Call of Duty, and just a mixture between these things in a way that doesn't work and that is not novel or interesting. When it sticks to being Battlefield, it's great. When you play the main rush mode that has been in the franchise since the very beginning, then everything works. It's really fun. There's so much to do. It's really great to work with a team. It is the kind of ecstatic, Michael Bay-ish war arcade nonsense. But then when you go into the new main mode, the new thing that they really heavily pushed, the open warfare where you have a massive map and you're supposed to take over multiple zones and control sectors, it just falls apart. It really falls apart. And I think that's mainly because this hasn't... It doesn't at least feel like it. It doesn't feel like that this has been thought through. It doesn't feel like that there has been a long enough gestation period to understand why are we moving away from everything that made this series what it was, and what are we doing with the change. Because now these maps are too big. They are too big to have fun with on your own, and even with a team, you end up seeing only a fraction of this map because it's usually so that these fights end up going into small bottlenecks. And in these bottlenecks, you might have a good time, but I fail to see the point of having this kind of scale when players will not be able to see much of it, and when they do see it, it's usually in really crowded, hectic, and honestly kind of dull fights. And that's mainly because a lot of these fights are completely based on the fact that now everybody kind of gets to play every class, and everybody gets to kind of have the same weapons, of which there aren't that many to begin with. So when you have this, it loses the kind of meaning of playing Battlefield where you actually had to pick a role, where you had to play a part in a grand scheme of things. So, for example, myself, I love playing the medic. I love being in the front lines and helping out others, making sure that our team has the necessary strength to push forward. But because everything is now so dispersed, so wide open, and there isn't really a necessary need for a medic because everybody can kind of heal themselves or carry specific healing packs or even revive others. It makes it so that nobody wants to really help out or wait for the medic to come because, well, you can either heal yourself or the respawn period is so short and the maps are so big that you can just essentially spawn right away, go to a completely different place, and it doesn't really do much for the big experience. So a lot of the momentum is lost there. We just don't get that kind of sensation of pushing forward in this new mode. Now, make no mistake, in the original mode, in Conquest or in the Rush, whatever it's called now, that works. That is still feels like Battlefield, and it's really great. I would still not pay $60 or even the $100 that they're asking for now. I don't think it's worth it. And on a technical level, there's some really major balancing issues that these new maps and this new openness has brought to the game. One of these things is that a lot of the guns don't feel like they're hitting anything, and I've been trying to read online about this because I'm not the greatest shot. You can see from this footage that I am not a really fantastic Willem Tell kind of fighter. But even in cases where I absolutely know that the bullets should be hitting the target, they don't. And from what I've been reading online, this turns out that there is some kind of a random numbers generator, some kind of a bloom going on so that the weapons wouldn't beam on others from such far distances. And that, to me, that's one of those things where it's like, this should have been seen months ago, months and months ago, to balance it out. And it's just not. It's just not balanced. It's not there right now. So I noticed that most of the fun that I had was playing with SMGs, just running around and shooting, or playing with the sniper from the really back of the maps, because you can really these snipers can shoot for miles and miles. But that's not really Battlefield. That's not really the fun part of it. And then when you get to the whole vehicle combat, where some vehicles feel just nearly indestructible because they have regenerating health, it takes away from that whole thing that you could have a fighting chance no matter who you were or if you played with a team. Because now, even if you have a, missile launcher or anything with you, you can't take out these choppers really easily. Or I've seen matches where a single chopper has been wiping out the enemy team constantly because it's so hard to take them down. And it's the same thing with tanks, and it's the same thing with all the vehicles in the game. And then there's the portal mode. And the portal mode is a really good idea. Let's give it that. It's a really good idea. I love the idea that I could go back and experience all my old favorites with, better resolution and enjoying them within this one game. But here's the thing, it's also not done yet. It feels really half-baked. There's not a lot of maps right now, and all the custom servers are absolutely horrible, because they are essentially that whoever makes the server will make them to be completely one-sided to themselves. There's no interest in putting together good hardcore servers or servers that would be balanced for everybody. They are just like World War II versus future weapons, or even worse, you have tons and tons of XP farms. So, and then I've been trying to also play the official servers, the ones that you get when you go directly into the menu and you just select quick play. And despite that this is the launch week, it's hard to find players. And it's hard to even know whether you're playing with actual humans or bots, because you don't get a full roster to showcase all the players. You only get your own squad. You don't get a full chat. You don't get any kind of chat with the other players. You only get your squad. So you're constantly feeling isolated, and because you don't know who you're playing with, you don't know who you're communicating with, you don't have this communal spirit anymore, it feels like that there's no point to these massive combat scenarios. And then one of the things that they were selling the game with was that there would be all these natural phenomena and things that would change the way the map works, but I haven't seen these. The levels that I keep going into are enormously static, with really just like, even though lots of explosions tend to happen, everything feels really anemic. The explosions don't feel like that they're causing any damage to the buildings. I haven't seen any of the kind of scale of destruction or sense of warfare. And let's be real, it's not real warfare, but sense of Hollywoodized warfare that has been promised. And I don't know if it's something that can be fixed down the line, because this seems really set in. The balancing issues are clearly something that can be fixed out in the end, but everything else, I don't know. I've been playing it for quite some time, and the progression is slow. It's not as slow as like with the new Halo Infinite multiplayer, where you just don't progress at all, but it is grindy. And it's not fun enough that I want to go back constantly to level up my gear. I haven't had the same kind of drive as I did with Battlefield 3 or even Battlefield 4 and 5, which were kind of, critically not that acclaimed. But at least those felt like that I was a part of some kind of community, and this just doesn't have that feeling. I hope it will down the line, and I think what I'll do is in a couple of months I'll come back to this. I will see how they've updated it, because they keep saying that they'll fix these things. And I really hope so. I really hope that next year I'll be able to say that Battlefield is now the gold standard of what you're looking for. But honestly, I'm not holding my breath. So right now, if you're on the fence, I would say stay away from it. Don't get it just yet. give it some time. There are other games to play, and I realize that Battlefield is kind of unique in its scope and scale, and the fact that it's not Call of Duty. But I just don't think it's right. It's not there yet. Hopefully one day.